Hello and welcome. This is James Blanchard Cisneros at your service. Today I'll be reading the December 12th Daily Inspirational Message, the condensed version, 2 paragraphs long. Then I'll center myself, say a little prayer, and make a couple comments on the message. If you find it of use, then be so kind as to like, comment, or share, or even join us. That'll be lovely. Thank you. Here we go. The title, Our Imperfections Will Reveal to Us Our Perfection. Paragraph 1. Being God's creations, our imperfections are really just misperceptions. A misperception shows us when we're not thinking in alignment with the mind of God. God created you to fit His divine plan. It is for this reason that your journey has a perfect and sacred nature to it. God knows you as His loving creation, and thus any thought that is not loving in nature does not represent the truth in you. Being all one, if you see anything other than love reflecting from yourself or another, then you're simply buying into the ego's fairy tale as true. Regardless of the misperception that you hold about yourself or another, do not get frustrated, for it is not true. Today, know that an imperfection is simply a sign that shows you when you are thinking something about yourself that God does not think about you. Paragraph 2. Today, let us take a look at our so-called imperfections. When we do so, we finally see and realize that they are not true, not us. Our imperfections can seem to come in endless forms. Some forms may be when we judge ourselves or others, become frustrated, anxious, stressed out, angry, resentful, or hateful. These energies and emotions may sometimes seem insurmountable. If we believe them to be true, then they may very well be. But placing themselves in opposition to love, who is God and all, they could never be real or true. Illusions come in all forms. Yet thankfully, none of them are true. Only the love in us is true. Today, we are asked to see the false as false and the truth as true. In doing so, we forgive our imperfections and in peace, let them go. Okay, our imperfections will reveal to us our perfection. Okay. Anytime today we're feeling imperfect, we're feeling doubtful, fearful, anxious, unworthy, let's practice doing these 5 things. And these 5 things will help us let go of that story and come back into alignment with the truth in us. First, point number 1. When we get those anxiousness, unworthy feelings, doubt, fear, that we're something other than God's perfect creation, let us first not sink into those stories, into those emotions. Because if we sink into that deep, dark pool, it only gets darker and darker. And so we're not going to place our time, focus, and energy in the story of imperfection, in the story of doubt, of fear, of anxiousness, and unworthiness. No. Instead, we're going to use those emotions to remind us that what's truly happening is that our minds are out of alignment with the mind of God, with love, with all that is truly true and real about us. And so, okay, point number 1, we're feeling imperfect. Okay, let us just simply use that as a reminder. Oh, wait a second. I'm allowing the ego to think for me. I'm not aligning with the truth in me, which is love, and therefore must be perfect. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is know that the more you get to practice doing this exercise, doing this point number 1, the more natural and normal this thinking will become. And so it will start to feel more normal to not be in the story, in the darkness, in the illusion of imperfection. And that's just going to start to feel more foreign to you. Because the more we get to practice going from the darkness to the light, the more the light will seem like our true home. And the quicker it will be for us to align with the light in us, with the mind of God. When we are lost in our story. That's point number 2. Point number 3, let us note how we're by going from the darkness to the light, from changing our minds about the purpose of the moment. Then we'll start to use the quote-unquote bad as good. We start to think in alignment with the mind of God, using all for good. And then you start to see the perfect nature of all things. And so if we're able to use that fear and doubt and anxiousness and a sense of unworthiness, not to sink deeper into it, but help us release us from it and remind us that because only love is real, none of this is truly true. And so the more you get to practice going from the bad to the good, from the false to the true, from the dark to the light, the more you'll see that, it is truly here where I belong. And so if I can use the so-called bad for good, then how blessed am I in this journey when I'm always just a simple choice away from letting go of the ego's stories, fairy tales, delusions, deceptions, and lies, and come back to center, to my loving nature, to peace, to joy, and be that. So that's point number 3, is learning to use the bad for good. Point number 4. As we have and develop this grace about us, as we stop investing in the story, in the delusion of imperfections, and start investing in the truth, in the knowledge that we are created by love, by perfection, thus we must be perfect, and we must be going through our journey in our own perfect, sacred way and pace. And so by developing this grace for ourselves, we have to remember we're all one. So anytime you can develop that same grace for your brothers and sisters, remembering that they're always just one simple choice away from letting go of their story and aligning with the truth in them, by you having greater compassion and understanding that your brothers and sisters are simply lost in the story, but in any moment they can begin to see the light in them as true and as truer than their fantasies. And so we practice in point number 4, having that same grace that we have for ourselves, for our brothers and sisters. And in point number 5, we simply offer gratitude to everyone who was part of a process that helped us see that we were carrying these misperceptions about us as real and true. Because where do they live? Where does your belief in doubting yourself, or in fear, or in being anxious, or being unworthy, where do they live? They all live within you. But if you cannot see them projected out into the world, into situations where these emotions come up, then you can't go within and start to clear this up, clear these lies up, clear these distortions up, and heal them, so that you may awaken and shine bright. And so, pardon me. And so we thank every person and every situation that helped us bring this stuff out into the physical, so that we can see that this is not what we want. We don't want the stories of the ego. We don't want its tools, its deceptions and lies. We don't want its fear-based thinking and judgment-based thinking. We simply want to, in every moment and situation and interaction, align with the mind of God, with who we truly are, and offer only that to our brothers and sisters. Offer only our perfection to our brothers and sisters, so that they too can remember that they too have the possibility of aligning with the mind of God, and thus with their being at peace with their perfect journey, and knowing that each step of the way, no matter how the ego defines it, can be used to help us heal and awaken. And so let's try that today, when the ego is trying to convince us that we're somehow imperfect and therefore we can't be a part of a perfect creator, that we must be in alignment with the ego because the ego is imperfect just like us. That's just a lie of the ego, trying to separate you from your true memory, the truth of who you are, which is God's creation, which is perfect in nature. And therefore, our truth must be perfect in nature. Everything else must just be a story we've learned along the way. But they are all not true if they're not loving in nature, because only the love that God is true. Okay. I hope that was of use to you. Please be so kind as to like, comment, and share. It would help with the listening process, and it might help somebody come to a place of better understanding of who in truth they are. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and God willing, we will see each other tomorrow. Peace.